The morning sun streamed through the towering glass windows of the luxury restaurant, scattering warm golden light across polished tables and half-empty glasses of champagne. The place buzzed with a quiet, heavy tension, the kind that only appears when powerful people sit together, trying to finalize deals worth more than most people dream of. In the center of it all sat Charles Donovan, billionaire, real estate giant, and a man used to owning half of New York's skyline. Yet today, he looked anything but powerful. His face had lost all color. His hands wouldn't stay still. He kept glancing from a small black notebook to the elderly Japanese gentleman seated across from him. His translator had canceled an hour before, and now, a partnership he had spent months preparing for was hanging by a thread. Money had always solved Charles's problems, but not today, not here, not in this moment where language, not wealth, held the key. He tried everything: charts, hand gestures, strained smiles. None of it made sense to Mr. Takahiro, who watched politely but clearly confused. When the investor gently placed his napkin on the table, Charles felt the deal and his hope slipping away. Across the restaurant, a young waitress named Emily watched the disaster unfold. She wasn't supposed to. Staff were trained to blend into the background, but Emily always noticed what others missed. Little human details that spoke louder than words. She saw Charles's trembling hands, his defeated eyes, and the disappointment shadowing Mr. Takahiro's face. Her chest tightened. She knew that feeling, the ache of being unheard. Just a year earlier, Emily had been sleeping in her car, clutching her late father's old Japanese-English dictionary. Her father, a gentle language professor, had raised her to believe that speaking someone's language wasn't just communication, it was respect. After he passed away, her life spiraled. She lost her scholarship, her direction, and almost her hope. Working here was her attempt to rebuild herself piece by piece. And though she hadn't spoken Japanese in months, the language never really left her heart. As she approached the table to refill their water, she heard Charles whisper, "God, I can't do this." Something inside her shifted. Emily turned to Mr. Takahiro and, with a soft bow, greeted him in gentle, fluent Japanese. His eyes widened. The tension around the table broke like glass. Charles stared at her, stunned, as she offered quietly, "Sir, I speak Japanese. If you'd like, I can help." Hope flickered back into his eyes. Emily took a seat beside them and began translating. Not just words, but meaning, emotion, intention. When Charles spoke business, she spoke connection. When he mentioned profits, she talked about shared vision and cultural respect. She didn't just build a bridge, she became one. For the first time that morning, Mr. Takahiro's expression softened. He leaned in. He listened. He truly engaged. Hours passed like minutes. Coffee replaced wine. Conversation replaced silence. And a frightened billionaire and a patient investor finally understood each other. All because a quiet waitress decided to be brave. By the end of the meeting, Mr. Takahiro rose, adjusted his suit, and looked at Emily with warm eyes. In slow English, he said, "You remind me of my daughter. Your father must be proud." Emily could barely hold back her tears. Before leaving, he spoke something to Charles in Japanese. Emily translated, her voice trembling. "He will sign the deal. He trusts your heart." For a moment, the entire restaurant seemed to stop. Charles exhaled a long, shaky breath of relief and whispered to Emily, "You didn't just save the deal. You saved me." That evening, after the restaurant closed, he waited for her outside, under the shimmer of city lights. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a check with a number that stunned her, and a note that read, "For the bridge you built when I had none." But Emily shook her head and gently returned it. "You already gave me something I thought I'd lost," she said, belief. What she didn't know was that the next morning, Charles would make a single phone call that would change her life forever. He offered her a job, not as a translator but as part of his international relations team. Within months, her world transformed. She moved out of her cramped, shared apartment. She spoke on stages, traveled for conferences, and helped launch global cultural exchange programs. Her story spread quietly. A waitress who turned a billionaire's panic into purpose. But in Emily's heart, it was never about success. It was about honoring her father's teachings. It was about kindness. It was about understanding. Years later, when a journalist asked Mr. Takahiro why he trusted Charles's company, he smiled and said, "Because one waitress showed me the soul of their business." If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that empathy still has the power to change destinies, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness, where stories of hope continue to live. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what's one act of kindness you'll never forget? Sometimes, a single moment, just like Emily's, can turn an ordinary day into a life-changing miracle.